Hey everyone, welcome back to Teen TV Deep Dive. I'm your host Alyssa, and here we talk about all things Teen TV. I know it's going to be a little bit awkward because I haven't posted in like almost a month. I'm so sorry, but it's just been really busy. And if you can't already tell, I got a mic, so hopefully that makes up for my absence. Is I've been making upgrades, and now I can upgrade my content creation game. Hopefully that'll make me more consistent. But yeah, today's episode is going to be the final episode about Gossip Girl. We've been breaking down each season by one podcast episode, and today we're finally going to wrap things up. I'm so excited to finally be able to sit down and do this. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. First, I wanted to talk about Blair and Serena. I feel like we've learned nothing from the whole journey we went through from season 1 through 5. And now that we're back in season 6, I feel like we're just back to our same old stuff. We have Serena, who's down bad for Dan. Then we have Blair, who's hopelessly devoted to Chuck. It's like we did all this growth and journey and self discovery for years to be right back where we started in season 1. So I was kind of disappointed by that. And then also, Blair and Chuck have this pact that they've created this season where Blair has to accomplish all her goals in the fashion world and just making a name for herself outside of being a socialite Chuck Bass's girlfriend. She wants to be her own in society and out into the world now. And then we have Chuck, who now that his dad and everything has come back up in the family business, he's trying to overcome those struggles. And so he tells Blair that once they both overcome their problems and reach all of their goals, then that's when they can be together and finally be together for good this season. But while all that is said, I did like seeing Blair come into her own this season. We see that she's kind of making her own kind of path in the fashion world. I definitely do think that it's really hard to be in the same industry as your parent because her mom is a world renowned like fashion designer, and to be in the same like path of work and to still go your own way and kind of forge your own path and make your own name, I think is pretty cool. And Blair does that a lot this season, and it's like a large part of her character. So I did really enjoy that. This season, we see Nate is also in a little bit of financial struggle. He's been making some bad decisions over at his publicity company, The Spectator, and now he's about to make some questionable decisions for a little bit of change. And he's kind of panicking with that. And I think now this season they're starting to have actual adult problems. I think before they kind of had like common teenager problems, but money wasn't a big issue to any of them, except for Nate. Nate has kind of had some ups and downs to his financial situation, but a large part of adulthood is like having problems with money and just kind of figuring out how to be responsible the best way you can. And I think that was a little bit more relatable for viewers. So I did find that kind of interesting. But that's kind of affected Nate's decisions and the direction that his character went into this season. So I thought that was an important point to bring up. He also dates a minor. I was highly disappointed. He finds out that this girl named Sage, she's supposedly so cool and so down to earth that he just can't help but date her, even though she's 17 and he's like a whopping 21. I'm really disappointed because he's the Upper East Side's most eligible bachelor, but for some reason, like, this annoying little girl is the one you choose to be with. Like, okay. I just wanted more from him, and the way that he broke up with her and went back to her, like, I just couldn't with Nate. And y'all know that I root for Nate every single chance that I get, but I just couldn't back him up with that decision. Moving on, I wanted to talk about Dan. He was as irritating as ever this season. We see that he's kind of written this book and he's still riding that wave of fame and publicity and all the things that came from that. but he still wants to fit in with the core four so badly. And I think at this point, at our big age, I feel like we should just calm it down with the cliques and we'll find our own tribe and just find who's best for us. I'm really think like back in season 3 when they were all going into college, I think that that was Dan's best season for those that he chose to surround himself with. I think that he had a lot of like writer friends and just people who valued their academics and had more humble beginnings like he did that he could have related to, but he still wants to fit in with like Dan, Serena, I mean not Dan, Serena, Nate, Blair and Chuck, and it's just getting pretty annoying at this point. I think he should just forge his own way and be accepting of who he is. He's not the coolest, he's not the richest, but he can find people who match his vibe. And that's what I wanted to see from Dan. And I did not get that at all. I also think that Den was doing everyone dirty, constantly exposing their secrets and those little articles or chapters that he wrote each week, and he released them. And he was like, "Well, it's not as bad as you guys," or da 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 this and da 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 that. But this man was worldwide. Like, yes, when they send in tips to Gossip Girl, they don't like only have access to it from people at their school, but still it's different because only the people in that like area are dialed in. It's not a worldwide phenomenon. Dan made it a worldwide phenomenon by posting all of their secrets in business onto these huge journalist websites each week. So he was really annoying this season, and the way that he tried to justify all of his actions, I just couldn't back it up at all. Now we're gonna get into my favorite part, who I thought Gossip Girl was. And I just wanted to talk about it like as I was watching it, who I kind of speculated who it could possibly be. I don't want to actually reveal who Gossip Girl is because I just feel like that's such a exciting part of the series and just such a fun part, especially when I had no idea, like I didn't see it coming, but especially just so my first guess that I had was Eric, especially in season 1. You see that the show picks up when Serena first comes back from her break, and then we also see that Eric just got out of a mental health institution. So I just thought that the timing was kind of right. And I know he got all the tea living in the same house as Serena. Like, you can't tell me that when Serena and Blair would be sitting in her room and she would spill all the tea to Blair, that Eric wasn't clocking it. He definitely was. And I just thought that made him a good candidate to who Gossip Girl could be. And also, he didn't have many friends. So, like, while everyone else was out, like, making mistakes and kind of doing those things that they didn't want anyone to hear about or to know about, Eric didn't have any friends. So, he wasn't out and about in these streets. So, he needed some business to have. And I feel like Gossip Girl could have taken up a lot of his time and gave him an interest. And moving on, I thought that Jenny could possibly be Gossip Girl because she wanted to be popular bad. And in my notes, I put bad, all caps, underscore, exclamation point. Because all you did, every single chance that she got, she would try and prove herself to Blair and all of her little minions on how she could improve her popularity and things like that. So it just made a lot of sense to me that it was her. And it starts when Jenny is a freshman in high school, so I feel like that also kind of aligned right. And Gossip Girl just didn't hit the same after she left in season 3. You kind of see that Gossip Girl has a prominent presence seasons 1 through 3, and that's where Jenny is obviously a regular character. But after her exit in season 3, it's just Gossip Girl isn't as constantly occurring. I feel like she doesn't have the dirt as much as she used to. I feel like after seasons 4, 5, and 6, all of the blasts were kind of common knowledge at that point. Like you could see those things and you could hear those things that were getting posted. So I felt like Jenny could have easily just heard about that from like talking to someone or how she would still talk to Eric. Like it was kind of just didn't hit the same. So those were really the only two people that I speculated this whole show. I was like really wanted to guess who it could possibly be seasons 1 and 2. But then after a while, like the storyline just gets so good. You don't even care who Gossip Girl is anymore. You're just like on to the next like event and the next journey that the characters are gonna go on. So now my final thoughts on like all the love triangles and basically love constellation that we've seen through the show. I just wanted to say my last final things with that. I think that Rufus and Lily were the cutest couple on the show by far. I was so sad to see them not make it, but I just really loved them. I thought they had an honest, more pure relationship, and I really wanted to see them go until the end, but unfortunately, they didn't. So it's not too much to say about them with that, but I just don't think that Lily likes to see herself happy. She always chooses to overly commit to the wrong guys. But I feel like with Rufus, she wasn't I don't feel like she was all the way in. But with her other husbands, I think that she definitely did that. But it's so weird because she had this huge guard with Rufus that Serena and Eric wanted her to have with all the other guys. But it's like she just didn't care. It only applied to Rufus. And I think there's like a I don't know how you want to call it, but I think there's like a step ladder to all the other like teenage characters that we see in the show. So I don't think Jenny loved anyone as much as she loved Nate. I think he was her protector and he was just there for her in a lot of ways that so many of the other characters weren't. So I think she just loved him a lot for those reasons. And then I don't think Nate loved anyone as much as he loved Serena. I felt like he was intrigued by Serena because they were both on each other's level. Like they are really attractive people on their own, but they're also really good people and have kind hearts as well. So I thought that was something that Nate admired about her and kind of had in common with her. But we see that Serena doesn't love anyone as much as she loves Dan. She loves Dan down. There's nothing that you can tell her about him. There's nothing Dan can do to Serena. She'll still love this man forever. And then I think Dan's best love was probably with Blair. I think he just cared about her so much more, and I definitely feel like there were some times where he just wanted to kick Serena to the side. But Blair kept being outwardly rude to this man, and he still just ate it up every time. He loved Blair so much. And I do think that they were the cutest couple from out of all the like teenagers on the show. I feel like they just made the most sense and they would actually work out in a lot of ways that I don't think a lot of the other characters would have. So yeah. And then of course Blair didn't love anyone as much as she loved Chuck. She just couldn't she just couldn't shake the Chuck off like of her. She had Princess, she had someone who was literally perfect on paper. They had all the same interests and values in film and literature, and that just wasn't enough for her. She had a Duke, all sorts of like amazing guys, and just super compatible partners for her, but she wanted Chuck bad. And lastly, I think that Chuck didn't love anyone as much as he loved Chuck. He just loved himself. I think that he cared for Blair, and I think that he cares for her a lot more than he does for other people, but I don't think there's anyone that Chuck could really love more than he loves himself. I feel like he was pretty selfish, and I do stand by that. I think he's done some pretty messed up things over the series, and in season 4 he tries to get like this rebrand so that you're happy for him by the end, but it didn't really work on me. So that's it. I really wanted to take my time and make sure that I had a good like day to dedicate some time to this episode. Gossip Girl has been one of my favorite shows like for a really long time. And I think anytime I look back on my teenage years, like I'll always think about just Gossip Girl. It's been one of the shows that really made me like start an interest in teen TV shows and just have like a love for them, I guess. So this series is really important to me, and I wanted to make sure that I could end it on a good note and just make a quality episode for it. So yeah, that is all for today's episode. Be sure to follow me on my other social medias, Facebook and Instagram at Teen TV Deep Dive Podcast for more. And you can see when I post new episodes as well as some other fun things on there. And yeah, I can't wait to make next week's episode. Hopefully, it's going to be next week. I never really know with my busy schedule, but yeah, thank you so much for listening. Bye.